Hello. All right. Okay. Let's get situated. Let me let people know that I'm live. I just ate a bunch of food. Okay. 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 So now I have let people know that I'm live. I just inhaled a bunch of Chinese food, and it was so good. Gotta give big props to Silva for helping me out with getting Chinese food. Okay. I think I've let everybody know I'm live. Let's get over to the just chatting screen. Try something different from fade. I always fade. Is it just fade or cut? I was gonna try a cool transition, then I realized. Oh, hold on, let me see if I can get another one. Here we go. Okay. Okay. I just put in a new transition, so it'll look a little different. Bup. This is always the slow part of the stream. Okay. Boop-a-doo-ba-doo. All right, let's see what this looks like. Okay, yeah, that worked. That was different. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll try it slower next time. So yeah, chat. How has everybody's week been? My week has been interesting. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff. I talked to my I talked to my therapist about a lot of the stuff that I've kind of mentioned on stream before, with the autism stuff and the ADHD and the intrusive sleep stuff. It's been a week, Silva. It's good to see you. It is good to see you, Silva. It is always a treasure. You're dragging Nibiru in now. I just have a mental image of you just dragging Nibiru in, kicking and screaming, and Nibiru has like an armful of manga. That's just how I picture Nibiru. Just an armful of manga and like anime DVDs. So what's been going on with your week, Silva? What happened? You said it's been a week. Is it just more of that rough stuff at work? More of the just work beating you down? And them making you do the work of like 2 people without giving you the pay of 2 people? Oh, you guys are still working on switching to the new system, so that's still going on. Oh, that's so rough. Do you think, like with your experience and what you've seen of the new system, do you think that the new system will make work easier once you are all fully acclimated to it? Is it one of those things where like it's gonna suck for now, but like once you get to the other side of it, will it be better? Is my question. Oh, that's frustrating. Then why change systems? Why change systems if it's not going to help? I guess. That reminds me of a meme I saw. I don't know if it was a meme or a post. It's a thing. It's become a meme because one person made this post and then it kept going and other people kept making this post. There's some goods and bads. Okay. And this person said, in order for software developers to be replaced by AI, the clients have to be able to clearly state what they want. Don't worry, we're safe. It's not as in-depth, so it's like a step backwards? Oh, that's weird. Normally they go into more complicated things. Like, that's how feature creep works, right? Okay, Silva. Hey, Nabaru, you finally got dragged in kicking and screaming? I don't know if you heard me mention earlier, but like when Silva mentioned dragging you in here, I had a mental image of Silva just dragging you. And I don't know why, but I picture you wearing like a Sailor Scout like outfit. And I just pictured Silva grabbing you by like that little like collar mini cape thing that they wear and dragging you in with when you had an armful of manga and anime DVDs. That's how I pictured you, Nibiru. Yeah, Magical Girl shows are special. I mean, I have my own obsession with Magical Girl stuff because I literally made an entire game system about Magical Girls that I've never tested. Funny. Let me see. Is there a way? See, okay, here's this thing that bugs me, right? I made a Twitter poll. As for dragging someone eventually that will drag Sylvan into watching both furry. Oh goodness. I made a Twitter poll and I made a uh a community post survey, right? Asking the same question, but I'm asking like different because some different people interact with me on different mediums. Um and I'm gonna see which like what gets the most votes after a week. Um and I was gonna be like, well, this is the YouTube community, so I will just share in the chat a link to the YouTube community post. But you can't share like when you click the share button to share a community post, it has you making another community post about the first one. And I'm like, that's not I want to share externally. Come on, YouTube. You've gotta if you want to become the next Twitter, you gotta add that share externally feature. I firmly believe if YouTube gave if YouTube added the ability to share externally for one, gave every account access to the community, the ability to make community posts, and put together a community feed. So it's like be like home, shorts, whatever, subscriptions, library. Then there'd be just one for community, like they're working on making like they have one for shorts. That YouTube could become the next Twitter. That is my firm belief that like if they put that together, enough people would start using because it's essentially the same thing. It's essentially just microblogging. Like it's what we looked for in MySpace, it's what we looked for in Facebook, it's what we look for in Twitter. But yeah, so that happened. So I have acquired through various means English translations of 2 Japanese exclusive games. Front Mission 5 Scars of War and Super Robot Wars Original Generations. They're both PS2 games. They're both tactical RPG games, and they both feature you controlling teams of mechs to take on a variety of challenges and to defeat enemies and go through a story, right? Original Generations is I feel like it's a bit more, I don't want to say in depth, but like Original Generations is actually 2 games. Original Generations 1 sorry, OG1 and OG2, which were both Game Boy Advance games, put together and then having new graphics and stuff to make it all updated for the PS2. So like I don't know which one has more missions or more things. I know in my research I found that Original Generations 2 had more replay value and had more missions and had more in-depth stuff. And it was harder than Original Generations 1. But like I don't know how they're different stories. They're different stories, they're different experiences. Front Mission is this really intense war story and it's real robot. It's military. It's uh very like realistic as if like what mechs would be like if they really existed. Um and Super Robot Wars is, well, it's Super Robot. Well, there are real robots, but it's this mixture of like realistic robots and super robots. But even the realistic robots are still in this like super robot setting with a story that's over the top and um just like bombastic. A lot of bright colors. Uh and like you got the airships and all the stuff that you get from a lot of like mech anime with these anti-gravity ships and all that stuff. Um but yeah, that's a lot of what you get in Super Robot Wars, and I wanted to ask my community because I was looking to add one of these two games to my rotation, but I still want to do Legend of Dragoon, and eventually I'm going to get back to Armored Core. I think even though I said I was done with Armored Core 3, I might do a couple more, like one or two more Armored Core 3 streams just to get more stuff because I want to have more stuff to take with me into Silent Line, um, which is the sequel. I mean, I could go because I've got the Kurosawa and I've got the Moonlight, so I could just go, but could do some missions with the Kurosawa and see how it helps. Um. Anyway, I don't want to have too many games in rotation because then it's gonna take me too long to actually get through anything, and I want to have like one or two games in rotation that I can alternate weeks or do something. Do something to just keep them in rotation. And I know I want Legend of Dragoon to be one of those games that stays in rotation, right? Um, so Legend of Dragoon is going to be one of those games. Uh, and I just have to decide if I want to do Front Mission or if I want to do Super Robot Wars. And since it's not letting me share the link to the YouTube poll, I will do. So I'll put that there if anybody wants to do the Twitter poll to let me know if you have any thoughts or feelings of what else, of what I should be doing as the backup game to Legend of Dragoon. I'm definitely going to be devoting a lot of time and effort to Legend of Dragoon because I want to get through it, and it's a really long game. But yeah, so I talked to my therapist, uh talked to my therapist about a bunch of stuff, and like I had this experience, right? Where like when I was talking to my therapist about the autism, about the intrusive sleep and all of that, my therapist just did a lot of listening, didn't really say a whole bunch, and because I had a lot to say, I actually took up most of the hour saying stuff and didn't because normally I like to give my therapist a chance to give me advice because I very much value the input of my therapist. But for this session, I just had so much stuff to talk about that I just talked for almost the entire time and didn't really get any feedback or input a whole lot till the very end after going through all that stuff. And um my therapist was like, "Okay, well what are your next steps? What do you need to be doing?" And we talked about what my next steps were. Um and I have a great therapist. Like she's wonderful. And she talked about wanting to be able to do the right thing to help me, right? I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. And she said, I might have to look into like if I do get a diagnosis of um of autism, I might have to look into getting a a new therapist, one who specializes in autism and ADHD, because my therapist doesn't really specialize in that. She's has limited experience and she's been working with what she has. Um and I feel like the the healthcare professionals at the clinic I go to have been kind of reaching the edge of their depth with dealing with some of my health problems, but they've been so instrumental in helping me get to this point, right? Someone described it as like I'm just starting this journey, but it's been a long way to get to the starting line, right? Um and that thought of getting a new therapist was kind of terrifying to me. The thought of starting over, like it's so important to me having someone who listens, who doesn't try to gaslight me, and who is always supportive of me. And uh there's this entire experience where like when I started describing intrusive sleep, right? I started describing the symptoms. My uh my therapist was like, "Wait a second. You said you dealt with those before," and she remembered that I had talked about for the last few years that I've struggled with these symptoms, and she knew what I was talking about. She instantly knew what was going on, right? And that familiarity is so important and so precious that like the thought of starting over with someone new trying to build that over is just terrifying. So there was that. Um I oh you all might get a kick out of this. Related to D&D, I talked to the DM of my D&D group about this idea that's been scratching at the back of my head for a while now, right? And that is, what would it look like if my character tried to romance someone like an NPC or maybe another player? I don't know. I'm still up in the air, right? Or another player character, you know. I don't know. I'm still up in the air because my character is a warforged, and my character isn't like it would be such a different, like I would want my character to have a relationship based on like mutual respect and concern and understanding for each other, right? And I wanted to talk to my DM about it before I tried to do anything, because like I always want to make sure everybody's okay with what I'm doing. Like I know one of the characters has like had an off-screen like fling in the past. So like I know that that's a thing in this world. Um but like I just thought it'd be interesting. And it's been scratching at the back of my head for a little while. And then it came to a head when like in the last D&D session, we got introduced to this NPC who like looked like an anime protagonist, looked like a best girl anime protagonist, right? And just like looked great. And my character's first response was, "I hope we don't have to fight her. She definitely looks like she'll kick our butts." And one of the other players who's kind of our bard, our like our chaotic bard that does borderline evil stuff, it his response was, "Oh well, I got a romancer, got to take one for the team." And then this thought popped in my head about like, what would it look like if my character tried to romance her? I didn't follow up on it because like we were at a like our characters were at this fancy dinner, and that was not the time to be interjecting something like that. So I talked to my DM about it, and my DM was like, "Okay, well, first things first. Um, do not assume that every NPC you meet is single." I'm like, "Noted." Um, I'm like, "Definitely noted." And he said he showed me this Reddit post where he's like, this is kind of how I deal with these things. And the Reddit post was explaining this idea that like if you want your character to romance an NPC, do the romance stuff, do the dates, do the those interactions between sessions. Do them in like one-shot territory between sessions so you don't detract the rest of the campaign where everybody else is just sitting around watching you be on a date, right? Um and watching you romance someone. So like do it in one shots, one-on-one sessions with the DM between sessions. Yeah, exactly, Nabiru. And but the post was also suggesting for DMs, if this is a thing that you're going to allow at your table, if you're going to do this and facilitate this, use those relationships that get built as story hooks, as motivators, as plot things. Use these relationships for character development and as part of the story to actually acknowledge that this part of the character arc. And I'm like, I could definitely like I could be on board with that, right? Everything's still kind of a nebulous idea right now. So like I don't really have an idea who my character would romance. I don't think my character's gonna romance that one NPC as much as like my character definitely agrees with that NPC's philosophy and is very moved by that NPC's personality. I don't think my character would make a move because that's a very high-ranking person. Unless something happened and we had more interactions. But like, I don't know. I just it's just been an idea, and like exactly, exactly, Nabiru. Everything is just really nebulous right now because it's just an idea. It's just an idea that's been like scratching at the back of my head. Um, that I thought I'd actually talk about. I'd actually do something with. You know, if I'm gonna be playing, I want to be having fun and playing the character I want. And I think it'd be interesting because like my character is so driven because he has a quest that he's trying to complete, right? Um, but to see someone who's so driven to fulfill his quest, so driven to help other people, start to learn that it's okay for him to want things for himself. Um, is is an angle that I want to kind of explore with this character. Like we've had some situations of him acting out, trying to do things, doing things that were borderline evil, trying to figure out what he wants, because he had all of these emotions and things that he wasn't dealing with, which is interesting because he's a warforged, right? Um, and like this adds to this mix and this confusion and interesting stuff because in this world, warforged are hated and hunted. All artificers, warforged, all things from the age of machines are hunted and outlawed. And my character has to wear a disguise everywhere he goes. Um, and can only has like a handful of places where he can walk around without wearing a mask. And I made sure to tell the DM, if I do a romance thing, I don't want it to be another Warforged. I don't want it to be just like metal on metal like relationship. I want it to be with a fleshy person, an actual organic, because I think that creates a very different dynamic. Also, I've been watching. I watch Critical Role, and in the current arc of, well, not in actually. So in the current arc of Critical Role in the current campaign, the party is split and is like half the party is going one direction and half the party is on another. They're on different continents. So um, not this past Thursday, but for the past like 2 months, um, up until this past Thursday, they've been following this one group that had their Aomerton, which is their version of a Warforged. Um, and they have, in order to pad out the group because the party's split, they bring in guest stars. And so the guest stars for the first group were all built with this theme of romance. One character was playing another character's ex, and the other character was playing another Aomerton, and so the two Warforged fell in love with each other, and that became a thing for their relationship in the thing. And like, it was romantic, it was full of naivety and idealism, but they leaned into it. Everybody made it fun. And it's also interesting because, like, this is gonna sound really silly, but like, the seeing like that session where the relationship between the two robots started really moved me a little bit, because it got me thinking a lot about what it means to be in a relationship, what I want in my life, because I've always had an affinity for like golems and machines. So then seeing a character that I can kind of project myself onto getting into a relationship got me thinking about like, what would I want in a relationship? What would that look like for me? How would that work? And through a variety of interactions, um like, one thing led to another, led to another, led to another, led to another, that led to me starting the relationship I'm in now. Yeah, I'm in the relationship I'm in now because of Critical Role, among other things. But like, that was what started me down this path to get here. Um, and I'm happy. I'm happy with it. Um, so that just got me thinking. Like, D&D is a very, like, role playing is a very powerful tool. It's a very powerful tool, and it's a very powerful thing. Anyway, let me chug some water real quick. It's funny. I went so long without using any uh oh, wait, hold on. Did I just Okay. So like, I went so long without ever drinking energy drinks or coffee or any of that stuff, right? And then I just started trying out this Mio energy shots, and like, there's not energy shots, energy like water flavorings. And I got two of them. I got the Mio energy one, and then I got the Mio vitamin one. Both of them have B vitamins in them, but I don't want to get too much because I don't want to get too much B vitamin. I don't know what actually happens if you get too much B vitamin, but I don't want to risk it. So I only drink a little bit every day. But I was just thinking earlier today that it's really funny that now I drink at least like part of a bottle of Mio Energy every day. And I just think that's funny. Um, and I don't know that it's led to increased like productivity, because caffeine doesn't really do a whole lot for me, except that like, it makes it hard for me to sleep, but it doesn't give me a lot of energy to do things. But like, I don't know if the B vitamins help or all of that stuff. Ugh. All right, so let's get to the point. I promised myself that I would start sticking to the 30-minute like time limit for, not time limit, but like I've had situations where like I look at my analytics and I see a bunch of people showed up for the stream, but they all left before I got actually into doing what I'm supposed to do in the stream. And it's usually between that 9:30 page, like time whenever I like start talking and wander into a longer talking period. Usually it's when I'm going back and forth with stuff. But then um they just don't see the point of the stream, and I'm like, that makes me sad because I want people to be here for the thing that I'm doing. Um by the way, how was your week, Nabiru? Not gonna go to synthwave tonight. Just gonna stick to the lo-fi hip hop because we're studying tonight. We're writing. I'm hoping Tom shows up. It's like I specifically, so like Tom, you've seen him here before. He specifically told me that like he was really sad that he missed my writing stream on Monday and that he'd make sure he made it today. And that was a big thing that inspired me to do another writing stream today. Because I was like, you know what, let's do another writing stream. Not specifically for Tom, but for anyone else who might have missed the Monday one. So I have been doing a lot of writing. Like scrolling up, I've been doing a lot of writing. When we last had when we had the last stream, I think I was on chapter 1. I think that's where I was, chapter 1 in the last stream. And I think I got to the end of chapter 1. In that time, I have written through 3. I think I've written through chapter 4 too. Yeah, I just finished chapter 4. So basically, main character was in a fight with one of the divine beasts along with a team. Looks like they were winning, and then all of a sudden they started to not be winning because stuff happened. They fell into a trap. And then had the whole interaction between. Also, I wrote the whole interaction, the first meeting between Jesus and main character, when Jesus makes that promise that like, hey, call on me in your time of need, and I'll come running. And then main character gets like this like slow moment where like everything is going terribly wrong. He's watching his allies get cut down. Everything is just exploding. And he just starts remembering Jesus' words about like, call on me and I'll come running. And then he was just like, how did I word it? Well, let me scroll up to it. I think it was in chapter. Yeah, do I believe he'll come running? Not really. But if he did, could he save me and the others? Maybe. Do I have a choice? And he's like, yes, I always have a choice, except one of these choices is guaranteed to end in my death, so maybe I don't have a choice at all. And that's one of the things I wanted to explore a little bit, is this idea that like we often end up in situations because of the unfairness of the world where we because of the situation, the inequities and the injustices in the world, we very often end up in situations where people can say you always have a choice, but if one of those choices leads to your death or like the effective death of your entire way of life, Like that's not a choice, right? Like there needs to be something really good if you're going to be giving up your entire way of life. There has to be a really good reason if you're going to be giving up your entire way of life or giving up your life to accomplish something. There needs to be a really solid reason behind it. And yeah, this was one of the situations where like being like where the main character looked at it, he was like, okay, I do nothing, I die. I cry out to Jesus, I might still die, or a miracle might happen. I don't entirely believe a miracle will happen, but how is that any different from doing nothing? Okay. That's chapter 4. Now we get into chapter 5. So what we dealt with before was main character crying out to Jesus. Jesus shows up in giant mech, and I have this interesting scene. I thought it was cool. Some people might find it boring. I don't know. I have to get like proofreaders to look at the story at some point. But I introduced this scene where the the divine beast is like firing its laser beams at Jesus' mech, and they're like dinking off, like hitting ineffectively against the armor, right? And then like the thing tries to swipe with its claws, and its claws shatter, and it's just like starts screaming in pain, and it's just like this complete representing Jesus' mech is this huge juggernaut that can just take all of this damage and not even slow it down, right? And then like while the beast is still recoiling in pain from its claws shattering, his mech pulls back his fist, launches this huge earth-shattering punch at the center of the divine beast. And like I describe it where like the main character's mech was like hobbling up on one leg and gets blasted backwards by the shockwave, going feet overhead, flipping and cartwheeling through all of the rubble and through all of the trees because they're in a forest. I still haven't picked the location for the story to take place, so that's kind of nebulous. I may have to do that in a later draft. But like there's just overwhelming power from one punch. Like I've designed a special attack for the mech, but I thought it would be cool if the first fight was just a punch. Just a punch dealt with it. And then the next fight, the punch doesn't work, so he has to use a judgment sword or a special attack. And then like we do this kind of like they do in Gravion or in Evangelion. And we're like each threat presents a different puzzle for the heroes to solve, a different thing they have to do in order to succeed. Ugh. So there was that. Then I had the scene with Jesus turning the person back into a person after ripping out the core. But right before that, Jesus asked the main character, "Will you be my prophet and tend to my flocks?" Main character's like not even understanding what that really is entailed, and it's just like, sure, I'll do it. I don't see anybody else really who could accept this responsibility, whatever that means. I'll do it. And at first he's thinking, okay, does that mean I have to kill this thing because Jesus is all about no killing? Because like the divine beast was just like writhing in pieces off on the floor. But then Jesus reaches down and rips out this orange orb, this core of it, and transforms the core back into a person. And like the person is like hairless, naked, and then Jesus gives them a white robe and tells them to follow the main character. Tells them to follow John. And now John is tasked with, what do I do with this person who now we've all had this like life-changing Jesus experience, and what do we do with that? And then I had the scene with like the meeting. Chapter 4 dealt with the meeting of like doing the report, and I introduced this character that I'd introduced in the first chapter, Tim. Not first chapter, second chapter. I'd introduced this character Tim that was kind of a commanding officer to the main character, and I wanted him to be kind of a foil, kind of a person who's like, he sees all these miracles happen, but he doesn't believe. To be kind of that not quite antagonistic, but to be another viewpoint, another voice, to look at for these scenes. But then they met with command. Once they got back to base, I introduced one of the commanders, Ben, and Ben instantly sides with John and with wanting to welcome the new convert, essentially, the defector. And I did something probably questionable, but I don't know. Based on like looks and stuff and name and stuff, I kind of based the first person that got pulled out of the mech got pulled out of the divine beast on an old abusive boss I had. To kind of work through this idea of like, what would it look like for me to forgive this person? That's just something I'm working through as I write this. Anyway, last chapter ended with them having their meeting, and main character, sorry, I was being too loud. Main character is told, you're responsible for Greg. Take him, get him some clothes, get him some food, get him a bunk, get to bed. That's true, Nabiru. Like, I don't know how much of my baggage I'm comfortable unloading into this story. That's just some baggage I kind of dropped off. I don't like how this chapter ended. It's like too storybooky, which is funny because it's a novel, but it just feels weird. Ending the chapter like we walked out of the conference room into the future we can only imagine just feels too cliche and too storybooky. Could just take it out. Yeah, that's fine. To end with them walking out the door. So now let me check my notes. I'm trying to only outline the next block. So this is now action. Taking action on the problem. John has to deal with helping Greg fit in and all the people's responses to him. John takes more of a leadership role and makes some hard decisions. Kinda, Nabiru, kind of. So this scene right now, what we're going to be describing is going to be the beginning of John dealing with. So like, Greg was a person who had been a divine beast. He killed some of their people. He'd been their enemy until he met Jesus and changed, right? And Jesus turned him back into a human. Um, and while the rebellion might have a rule welcoming back defectors because they can't afford to turn away any help, that doesn't mean everyone's going to be supportive of it. So there's going to be people that are going to be like, well, he He made the decision. He volunteered to become a divine beast. He made the decision. Um, and we shouldn't be letting him walk free. So people are going to give him a hard time, but looking out for him and helping him set those boundaries in order to guarantee his safety is going to be John's responsibility. That's my main character. So I want to start exploring that from different angles. So that's what we're going to be exploring here. With these two women who walk up while Greg is trying on clothes. One second. Okay. So this is a situation where um the uh the situation is escalating, is sliding out of control. Um it's kind of stereotypical, but that's kind of what I'm playing with here. Is the widow of one of the pilots is confronting the main character like is he the beast? Is he the person who who killed my loved one, blah 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 blah, right? Um and the main character has no idea how to deal with this. He's been a helper. He's been like just doing what he's told and following along as part of this larger organization for his entire life. So he makes the wrong choice. And I think it's important to have situations where your main characters make mistakes, where they get it wrong and they suffer the consequences. In this instance, he's trying to disarm a high tension situation with humor, and in doing so, he makes a a poorly worded and um, insensitive joke that is just not the right thing to say at this point in time. But he doesn't. He's panicking. He's grabbing for whatever he can, and he's just like that's why I have where he's telling himself do something. See, here's the thing that I'm dealing with here, right? I I want I have to figure out how I want the main character to resolve the situation, right? I was talking to Okusen about it, and like one of the things that Okusen suggested is that like while the main character is cynical about a lot of things, um, have the main character be deeply moved by what he saw Jesus do, by this supernatural experience that he's had, and even be even more moved than he knows how to describe, and then uh, steadily like just express this kind of belief in it. Um, so that's one way to look at it. But I don't know if I want them to actually get through the door to Greg. What's happening on the 31st? Is that when you're going to Disney World land thing, Disney thing? Oh, Shin Kamen Rider. Yeah. Is that a new movie or is that like the other reboot? Was that? Oh, I'm thinking of Kamen Rider the first and Kamen Rider the second. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of Kamen Rider the first and Kamen Rider the second. I don't know if because the main theater near me is a really small theater. I don't know if they're gonna do a showing of Shin Kamen Rider. All right, thanks. Let me know. I'll acquire it somewhere. I missed that one place you could acquire things like Rider and Sentai. What was that? Oh, yeah, yeah. I miss it too. What was it called? Oh my gosh, I know what you're talking about though. I know what you're talking about. TV Nihon, yes. That that brings back ooh, the memories. You're right. It's not the same. They put a lot of effort into their subtitles. They had colors, they had effects. Like, they had translation notes. Everything according to Keikaku. Translation note, Keikaku means plan. Hold on, I gotta find something real quick. Moo translates to moo. Oh my gosh, I just Googled all according to Keikaku and I got so many silly images. So the original thing was from Death Note. Okay, so the original one was from Death Note. I had to look that up. Moo translates to moo. What was that one? Was that the one where it's like, I will now proceed to pleasure myself with this fish or something? Was that the one? Oh my gosh, the potato chip scene. I didn't even watch Death Note and I know of the potato chip scene. Even the live action series is good? Okay. Why is everyone? I just checked on Twitter real quick to see if anything cool was happening. And everyone's tagging this one VTuber and stuff. Never forget the cringes of old. Is this a pigeon motions towards? Oh my! Motions towards the butterfly. That scene has gone on to like become so infamous. I was watching I was watching a clip of Pipkin Pippa. Yes, I watch Pipkin Pippa from time to time. She is chaotic and has some interesting hot takes. But she was talking about this one thing when like she was talking to someone and they mentioned Big Bang Theory and she just had like Nam flashbacks. And she was like, that's how you tell if you have normie friends. You ask them if they say they were nerds at a certain period of time in their life, like a teen years. You ask them if uh, they ever watched Big Bang Theory and wait to see if they have Nam flashbacks. VTubing is really full of VTubers. Who knew, Nabiru? Who knew? Not me, that's for sure. I certainly didn't know that VTubing is full of VTubers. Oh, also, I think you'd all get a kick out of this. I was talking to my mother today, right? And she was doing her spiel about trying to get me to come down to Florida again. She was talking about how there was going to be a memorial service for my old choir director, not this weekend, but next weekend. And I'm like, that's way too soon for me to be ready to think about traveling all that way down there. Um, and uh, we were talking about stuff, and like, I told her about, I don't know if I said this already. It's funny. I told her about some of, like, I'm trying to be honest with her, right? And I told her about some of my mental health struggles, my struggles with the intrusive sleep, my struggles with, um, like, with trying to understand whether I have autism or something. Um, and like, as soon as I started talking about the intrusive sleep, she didn't like listen to any of the things I was saying. She just kept saying, "Oh, you should get a sleep study. It might be sleep apnea." I'm like, "Mom, I'm not tired. I go from being wide awake to being boom, passing out exhausted suddenly. It's different." Um, and I mean, yeah, I'll still talk to my doctor about it, whatever. But then at the end of the conversation, right? I'm trying to get off the phone, trying to end the conversation because I wanted to get some writing done. And my mom is like, "Hey, in order to deal with your depression, you should probably go outside and get sunlight more often." And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, there have been studies that have proven it. Having sunlight helps with being exposed to sunlight helps with uh, depression, and you might just need some really sunny days." And I'm like, I go outside. I go outside plenty. But I just kind of nodded and said sure. Because I'm like, so when I was talking to my mom about wanting to get diagnosed, to find not that I want to be diagnosed, but I want to find out if I don't know, I guess that is diagnosing. Find out if I have autism, if I'm on the spectrum, or like where that is. Hey, Okusen, good to see you. How have you been? Congratulations on the new job. My alert command not working. Is it exclamation point lurk? Yeah, it's exclamation point, not slash, but you're welcome to lurk. Why did it do it when I did it, but it didn't do it when okay, there it is. I was about to say, what? Huh? Stream element spot, you failed me. But yeah, so and like I'm like, "Mom, I wanted to argue with her, but I just kind of let it go." But yeah, when I was talking to my mom about like possibility about that I might have autism and some of my history of dealing with like having issues with communication stuff and like stuff I didn't even fully understand, my mom was just like, "Well, I know you've always had problems and you've always struggled with things, but I've never known what you were struggling. I've never known what it was, what was causing it." Something like that. And I'm just like, There's part of me that wants to be like, if you knew I was struggling, when like there are things that I didn't even realize I was struggling with that I just thought were normal. Um, and finding out that like, yeah, there's some stuff that I was struggling with that I maybe didn't have to if I'd gotten some help, or if things had been differently, been done differently. My mom was like, you should talk to a doctor, see if you have Asperger's. That's kind of like autism. And I'm like, I Googled it, and it's like, it's in the same family. It's on the, it still counts as autism spectrum disorder. Um, and I'm like, yeah, I guess. I don't know, but that whole thing about get some sunlight, it'll make your depression better. We were talking about memes or nonsensical sentences. That's just what came to mind. The thought of like my mother just saying, get sunlight, it'll make your depression better. That's not exactly how she worded it, but it's a funny way to picture it. Yeah, kind of, Nabiru. Okusen's lurking, Silva. You weren't paying attention, Nabiru. Oh my goodness, how could you possibly not be paying attention to the riveting excitement that's happening on screen? So this is where I'm getting to this thing where it's gonna be this kind of like almost culture shock for Greg in this situation. Um, because what's happening here is Greg has lived his life on the Sky Cities, right? And he's used to these like absolutist uh kind of living. And so when he's confronted with the fact that like as a beast he killed this person's loved one, his way of trying to say what to do is to be like, well, if we were on the Sky Cities, you could have me hung or killed or put into forced labor for the rest of my days. And um he's sorry and he's willing to submit to that, but then for because he's still thinking in terms of punishment because that's how the state church operates. It operates on punishment and shame. Um and he's feeling that shame and expects the punishment because now he's found out that what he was doing was the wrong thing. But then what John has to teach him has to be that what Jesus preaches is not shame and punishment, but um, forgiveness and new life. And as John is explaining that, right, that they're trying to be different from the state church, and um, that's going to be part of John's growth is coming to understand that for himself. I realize I'm having some trouble writing this because, like, I'm also from my own limited worldview, right? I grew up in that shame and punishment culture, right? So for me, I'm like, how do you, what does that look like to hold someone accountable in a way that is trying to make things right without being like, I must punish you for the evil thing that you've done, where the goal is building something new as opposed to making someone feel miserable. Like, it just, as someone who's grown up in America, it just, it's just hard. It's just hard to wrap my mind around. And like, I realize a lot of this story, a lot of uh, this worldview and this villain, a lot of this is based on my own personal experiences, uh, growing up here in America. And like, it, how do I put this? More and more when I think about the story, I feel like it might be kind of presumptuous to write a story in which the worst elements of America take over the rest of the world and make the world a worse America. Um, but it is what it is. Like there are all kinds of terrible people. Second, I had to make a note of something real quick. So it's funny. I had my phone on another streamer that I was watching earlier on Twitch, and I just left it going, to give them a view or whatever. And I just looked over, and they'd apparently finished streaming and done uh, a raid or whatever into another streamer. So I got to turn that off. All right. Hey, CeeLo, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Abana Navana. What's that? What's that? Is that the name of a band? It is now. All right, you starting a band, CeeLo? I just realized, like, I'm running into a problem here. If the rebellion is already a culture based on, I was at the shower, I was thinking of soccer teams and how I would run a team, and I thought how a sports team in the end is entertainment provider like a band or idol group. Yeah, it is. That's why, like, American football players have in their contracts that they have to do so many interviews per year because it's all a part of building the story and keeping the viewership through the drama and all that stuff. So I'm running into a problem. Like, I want the rebellion to change, to shape up, to change its ways, and to slowly become um a culture that like my idea I have is that um the I gotta brainstorm this, gotta figure this out. Okay. So whereas the Sky Cities are based on like shame and punishment and essentially exacting what amounts to revenge on people who do bad things, or who do things that are ruled as bad as these interactions happen, and have this very specific subset of rules that create situations where people are going to completely outside of their control break these rules or have to break these rules to survive. um and my idea was I wanted the rebellion to be starting to go down that path, right? um but then the main character like has to like start learning and changing the rebellion. So that way the rebellion doesn't keep going down that path. Oh, this is have you seen this story, CeeLo? I don't know if you've seen this story. This is a story called Deus Ex Machina. It is about a world in which hyper political Christianity has taken over the world, and the the state church who are yes, this is Mecha Jesus. Have you seen this? Have been here for any streams when I talked about this story? And I've had a couple where I mentioned it. But then like so I want there to be some kind of a thing. Yes, yeah, I remember you mentioned how like you said it broke your brain as you were talking about early Christian communities. That's a possibility, Nabiru. I don't think I'm at the point where I would do a time skip yet. I probably will have one more fight scene where they bring in one more person. Um, but yeah, I get what you're saying, Nabiru. I think I would have them bring in one, like, rescue one more person from a divine beast, and then possibly look at a time skip. Probably in the beginning of Act 2. Hmm. That's a possibility, CeeLo. I'm already kind of setting up for that. I don't know. Let me scroll back through. Because I want there to be some kind of a growth in the organization as the community starts to form. Let me back up a little bit. Let me change it. think I have to split the difference. I don't know. Yes, that's true, Nabiru. I think I know what I want. So the rebellion has a policy where they accept defectors. Um, as long as they stay trustworthy, probably after a probation period. Yeah, because you wouldn't just accept anyone into your base. You'd have to have them on probation to make sure they were trustworthy. I might scrap this entire scene. See, my problem with this scene is having it resolve in this manner makes the main character do absolutely nothing and the issue resolves itself. Well, he reminded her of what Thomas would have wanted. So he reminded her of um what her loved one would have wanted, and uh and had that statement that killing him won't bring Thomas back. I might change. I might change a lot. I might rewrite the last 2 chapters. I really might. Because like in the last chapter, I had it where the rebellion was ready to accept Greg, but John's commanding officer Tim, who had watched the miracle happen, was not ready to accept Greg. And I might rewrite it to flip-flop that, where Command doesn't want to accept Greg, but John and Tim have to stand together to fight for Greg, because they both have been changed by watching the miracle that Jesus performed. And then seeing that there is something different about these two, that they're willing to go to such lengths for an enemy soldier, starts to cause a change in Command. I'm gonna have to rewrite the entire last like 3 chapters. Hold on. Hold on. I'm putting this in my notes so that way I have something to work off of whenever I work on my rewrite. Tossing random Deus Ex Machina to fill plot gaps and or odd facts. Now you're just being silly, Nabiru. Excuse for such and such. Well, okay, calling this a Deus Ex Machina is a joke because it's Jesus and a giant robot. I have to rewrite all of chapter 4. Maybe not all of it. Probably just some of it. Let's see what I can fix. What are you getting, CeeLo? Oh, did you just realize what Deus Ex Machina means? It literally means God in the machine. And it's Jesus in a super robot. I know my jokes are you could say that they're God tier jokes. Eh, eh, eh. You never really bring up a valid point, Nabiru. Like this is literally like God piloting a mech, so I could kind of do anything. Actually, I don't have to change that much. I don't have to change that much now that I'm actually rereading this. Ooh, I can have it where it looks like Tim's gonna be a problem, and then in the tent, in the command room, when command wants to come down on Greg, Tim comes to Greg's rescue. Ah, and they talk and talks about this precious moment. Monster Garden to you. He's an artist, writer that's been doing some interesting world building concept art videos. No, you haven't mentioned it before. Sounds interesting. Different takes on fantasy tropes like different races and magic. That's cool. That's sad because I really did like that speech. I'll just have to give those words to Tim. Rocked my brain a bit, but there's a fic called Going Native that's a DC Dragon Ball Fusion universe but focuses on the things at a galactic scale. What stands out in it for me is the way the fights are written. Ooh, how are the fights written, CeeLo? Very cinematic way of writing, mostly hand-to-hand fights. Ooh. Oh, good night, Silva. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being amazing. And thanks for being not just a good viewer, but also a great friend. Back and forth with every strike, block, and counter mattering like it's a chess match. Okay. Oh, that sounds really cool, CeeLo. Do I just get rid of this entire chunk here? Bah. There's BattleTech ones by Optimus Maximus over space battles. Looked into the actual TTRPG and I found the focus on localized damage and disabling systems. Oh, that's interesting. I like the idea of Tim as an advocate. I like this better. Like this is more work. This is this is more work and rewriting stuff that I've already written, so I'm not making forward progress, but I like this story better. And like this is kind of what happens whenever you go by the seat of your pants is like stuff gets changed. Pokemon fics are also interesting because every author has a different take on how battles go regarding the back and forth of moves, manipulating environment, injuries, combining moves. Yeah, that's true. Ah, Face this out. There's a channel called Kuiki Animations that have been slowly doing a world building of a hollow live world, and a lot of animations are very. Oh, that's cool. Well, I mean, writing action scenes is something that I'm definitely gonna have to try to get better at. One of the things I always saw people discussing and asking for advice or giving compliments on in subreddits and Discord servers about fanfics. Yeah, writing fighting scenes is hard, especially writing mech scenes, mech fights, because like you're describing what the mech is doing, you're describing what the pilot's doing, you're describing what's happening to the environment. You have to know the tech that's happening. Hmm. One thing I've thought of doing for practice is take a manga, no, for a good fight choreography like My Hero Academia or Naruto, and novelizing the fights. Ooh, that could be interesting, CeeLo. There's an easier style of fighting. It's called Tier 2 High Paced Fighting Style. 7 words to attack. It was created by those who felt paragraph long winded, describe all, aka T1 style was so slow. Ooh, 7 words for each attack. So I was reading. Okay, this is going to sound really bad, but I asked Chat GPT how to write mecha fights. 7 words to attack, 10 connect, 7 dodge, 12 counter attack. No need to describe a lot. Okay. I asked Chat GPT how to write a mech fight, and it came up with this, and it gave me some interesting tips and tools. Um, and one of the things it suggested was utilizing paragraph length with building tension. In high tension fast-paced scenes, write short paragraphs, and each paragraph is a new thing happening, right? So when a new thing happens, you change a paragraph and have it happen really fast, really quick, moving quickly. It's spaced apart on the page, um, and then but mix in the middle between all of those high intensity things with lots of words happening really fast, like lots of really short paragraphs, like 1 or 2 sentence paragraphs. Mix in long paragraphs of introspection, of points where the pace will suddenly instantly stop in a surprising manner and focus in, dial in on one character or one thing and what they're doing, what they're feeling, what they're thinking, and let that slow down the pace for a second and then go right back to the high speed, high intensity, short paragraph writing, and use that to vary the intensity in order to make sure it's not all monotone. Okay, I like this better. I think this is more believable and it fits more. So the unit who the survivors who saw the miracle are moved and changed by what they've witnessed. Um and because by their witness things will start changing. This fits a lot better in my head. I think this entire thing doesn't work. I think the entire rest of this chapter gets scrapped. Man, I really liked Ben as the supporting character. But this creates a problem for the main character to start to solve. But yeah. I can do mostly the same things, just got to change the context. Where you will force characters you love or forced into various positions that are not always positive. Yes. Hey Tom, good to see you. How are you doing? We're probably going to run a little bit late tonight. I'm kind of in a groove and I have a lot of stuff I want to write while I still have my head in the right place for it. How was your week, Tom? How have you been? Your week was good? Great. This is the Deus Ex Machina. This is the Jesus and the Giant Robot story. So I've done a lot of writing on this story. And right now I'm doing a really big change of the direction. I'm taking some of the stuff when it comes to writing the rebellion that the main character is a part of. Um, the idea that I'm going with is that um, the rebellion doesn't want to accept the person who was freed from the divine beast. So the idea is that these divine beasts that they're fighting, at the core of each one is a person who volunteered to become a servant of the state church. Um, and up until this point, they've been killing the divine beasts, and the divine beasts have been killing them in this like cycle of destruction. Um, but then Jesus is able to defeat the divine beast and turn it back into a person. And then Jesus kind of leaves and is like, this person's your responsibility now. And so now the rebellion has to figure out what to do and how to react to these people who, you know, a couple hours ago was just slicing their people in half. And I wanted to really lean into the difficulty and the almost insurmountable task that is the true concept of loving your enemy. Originally, when I'd written this chapter, I'd originally had it that Tim, the main character's commanding officer, was going to be an antagonist and be like, this guy killed our people and everything, right? And then Command was going to be like, yes, let's welcome this person. But I realized that creates a situation. That creates a situation where, like, if the rebellion is already this like force of good and already has these good ideals, there's no space for growth and development and change incorporating Jesus teachings into into their actions. But yes, like you said, turning the other cheek is difficult. So now I'm rewriting this chapter and changing some things. For the sake of the story and my sanity, I am describing one rebel group for right now. I'm doing this. I haven't plotted out the entire story. I'm kind of doing this as I'm kind of coming up with this as I go. So right now I'm only plotting one rebel group, but I'm thinking I might have a splinter group break off as the story progresses. I'm not sure. A lot of stuff is still really nebulous about it. Okay. That rewrite was a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be. Um, Actually, this chapter, this part that I'd already started here, I don't think I have to actually change anything. Um, okay. So this scene I didn't need to change. This is where it gets confronted by one of the widows of one of the people who died in the previous battle. Actually, that came together a lot better. I like that. Gives me a direction. All right. So this is where the situation where the widow has been kind of the situation with the widow has been kind of diffused. But like the widow is like angry and wants to attack Greg, the person who was the divine beast. And John, the main character, reminds her like, is this what your loved one would have wanted. Um, and she starts to have a breakdown. She realizes, she remembers and shares that like that's not what he would have wanted whatsoever. He would have wanted them to take every opportunity to uh, to succeed, and he was always an advocate for defectors and for people who wanted to change sides in order to help the rebellion and yada yada yada. Um, and then you have Greg introduce come into the conversation and kind of make things worse, kind of make things better, because where Greg is coming from the state church, that's his primary experience, which is a community of shame and punishment, and so he feels ashamed that he killed this person's loved one, and so he kind of is asking what's the proper punishment. He makes the comparison to the state church, and this shakes the woman as she realizes she's acting just like those people that she despises, um and she storms off. And I think that's gonna be kind of what happens in this chapter is people want to um they want to punish Greg, um but they're not looking for atonement. They're not looking for a pathway to forgiveness. They're looking for, I want this person to hurt because I'm hurting. And then as the main character confronts them with that and the fact that they're doing the exact thing the state church would do, um it starts to cause growth, and the main character starts to see that maybe maybe things were going the wrong direction for the rebellion. And this idea that like if you spend enough time fighting something, you run the risk of becoming it yourself. Let me see what this did to the word count of that chapter, though, of chapter 4, changing that around. Curious what that did. I think chapter 4 was originally like 2000. Okay, so it actually added about 100 words. Okay. And this, we're probably not even like 800 words in. Yeah, 670 words. So I've only written like just about 800 words tonight. All right, let's wind down for the night. Got a lot of writing done. Not as much as I would have liked, but like because I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, I'm definitely coming up with solutions and directions as we go. Having to figure out a rewrite definitely stalled me out because I was definitely working through that thought process tonight. Spent a lot of time doing a lot of thinking and processing what I wanted for the rebellion and uh, for the other characters. I might do some more writing later, but I'm just gonna end stream here for now because we've been at this for quite a while. Change over to the just chatting screen. First, let me make sure I save. Lose anything? right. That went well. That started slow like normal. Um, but I think it went well. So what's everybody doing this weekend? What is on the menu for everybody? I know I've got to do. I think I've got a Lancer game. Yeah, I still have to prep for that Lancer game and figure out what I'm doing for it. Oh yeah, no, we're doing the combat that I prepped for. Yeah. Had to remember that because last Lancer session ended right before combat started. Oh, nice. Couple of one shots there, Tom. Did wasn't trying to remember because I remember I saw something about one of the players wanting to, was it, I think it was Kevin's player, was saying something in the group chat about wanting to possibly do a one shot with Timpani. I wonder how well those two get along on a one shot, but I really like that participation bingo you introduced in the last session, Tom. That was really interesting, even though I didn't find out about it till after the session. Um, okay. Yeah, I noticed. Like, I'm always trying to participate as best I can, but it's interesting to see like more, I guess, incentives and stuff. Though I really wonder how long we're going to spend in the city on the whole Belvin search before we head to look for that spy in Genesis. That's on a timer too. So like, yeah, exactly, Tom. And some of those rewards were really nice. Like something was like increase a stat by 1 or something. I was like, yo, that's really cool. Yeah. My thought is that we're gonna spend like 1 day on the Belvin thing, turn in whatever clues we get. Um, yeah, the longer we wait to cash in, the bigger the reward because we just keep stacking it up. And then once we cash it in, do we get a new bingo sheet? Is that how that works? That's funny, CeeLo. Oh, it resets. Okay. Ooh, that could be cool, Tom. That could be really cool. Yep. Boop. Yeah, that could be really interesting. I'm really curious to see where the story goes with our characters. Like we've spent so much time in Ormer. Um, I'm curious, like if we'll come back. Like, well, I mean, we want to come back to turn in whatever we find for Lady Edith, but like, there's a lot. That's true. It has only been 5 days, but it's been 3 months. It's been 84 years. That's part of the sliding scale of D&D. Like, um, yeah, that's just part of the sliding scale of like what happens. That's why I told the for that one thing when I got that stuff from the arms merchant, I told him a month because I figure it's probably gonna feel like forever that we're off on this quest in Genesis, but it's probably only gonna be in the world like 5, maybe 6 days till we find the person or their remains. Yeah, we did do a lot of stuff of building up our reputation. Oh, it's much smaller. Okay. I just remembered my character had a quest in Genesis, right? That I was doing at the start of the campaign. Hold on. Boop boop boop. Welcome to Hammerfell. What was it? Wasn't it something like I was on my way to like in the beginning to start with, I was like on my way to Genesis to confirm a rumor that the oh, okay. I hope that doesn't bleed into the new character. Like, I remember there was something where like I at the start of the when I joined the campaign, here we go. The original ruler of Genesis granted me safe passage, but there are rumors that there's an imposter ruling the city, and I was on my way there with a companion when a side quest to find out why the swamp was rising led me. I was looking for the swamp rising too. Oh my gosh. Now that I'm looking through my notes, I see I was looking for the swamp rising too. That's what led me into Soth's realm. It'll be interesting to see if there is an imposter rule on the throne or if that's already been resolved. That's been a while. So Genesis isn't quite a place where I could take off my mask, but I am welcome to pass through there. No one cares about. I care about swamp people. I care about the swamp people. Might have to negotiate some stuff between the lizard people and the farmers. I'm gonna laugh if it's like the whole thing with the swamp is like, what is it in Legend of Zelda Ocarina in Legend of Zelda, when you do all those like side quests and then in the background you can always see like the dark castle looming in the distance and you're like, oh, you know what, I'm just gonna go do side quest. Garza has documents about imposters. That's funny. uh I'll probably bring it up when we're on our way to Genesis if I remember. I'll bring up like, yeah, I was originally on my way to Genesis to find out about something about an imposter, see if that jogs Garza's memory. Hopefully. I just got to remember to say it. I mean, considering they all like had a blast from the past when I mentioned the swamp rising, they're like, "Oh yeah." Oh goodness. This isn't going to be like the trip to dig Caldor. This is going to be a long trip. It's a shame we can't find a way to squeeze a forge on the airship. I could spend our days on our way to Genesis, just working on my project. Oh, 5 hours? Okay, that's not so bad. Yeah, the AI US presidents thing has been funny, CeeLo. Yes, it'll be days to remember what we said here. Yes, it'll be days and days and days. All right, so let's wind down for the night. Had some fun talking about D&D. Had some fun working on my story. Had some fun chatting with people about stuff and hearing about people's weeks. That is cool. I hadn't even realized how much time had gone. Like, I sunk so much time into this character. Like, I've sunk so much time and effort into this character. It's really funny. Like, I don't remember sinking this much into a character as a player in a long time. It'll be. I'm still thinking about what we talked about earlier about that romance stuff. Gonna figure that out. Uh. All right. Let's wind down for the night. It's been a good night. Got a lot of stuff done. Had to rewrite part of a chapter, but made it through that. Had a chance to talk with everybody, hear stories, talk about things. It's been really great. So let's end the night with some positive affirmations about everybody who has come to the show. So scrolling to the top. What I do is I scroll to the top of the chat and go from the top. Yes, romancing the drone. Yes. It will be glorious. So to Silva, to Nabaru, to Tom, to Okusen, to CeeLo, and to anyone else who watched the stream and didn't say anything, and to anyone who watches the VOD afterwards, I want to say that I love all of you and I believe in each and every one of you. Well, thank you for coming, Tom. I want you all to know that I think that you are unique, precious, and wonderful individuals. I believe that each one of you has a special, one-of-a-kind energy that only you can bring to everything you do, and I believe that you each make this world a better place just by being in it. Thank you for coming to my streams. Thank you for giving me your time, your energy, and your attention. I appreciate having you, and I am just glad to have you to count you as friends and as viewers. Always remember the Star Hunter motto: shoot for the stars, have wonderful adventures, live your dreams, and always stop to enjoy the memes. If you ever have any friends, family, acquaintances, rivals, arch rivals, all of the above that you think might enjoy my content, feel free to invite them to stream or show them any of my content. Next stream is going to be Monday, 8:30 p.m. EST. Don't know what we're going to be doing. We've done 2 writing streams. So we might do 2 gaming streams. We'll see. Uh, we'll see what happens next week. Everything's kind of up in the air. That's what happens when you're a variety streamer, right? Yeah, finger guns. Um, if you want to keep up with what I'm doing on YouTube, be sure to subscribe and ding the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever I go live and when I release any new content. I do ask that you like the stream. It helps the algorithm with pushing it out to other people. And if you're watching the VOD and you have any suggestions, thoughts, ideas, comments, be sure to leave a comment. I do read them all as long as you're not banned. I may not respond to all of them. I may not follow up on all of them and refer to all of them, but I do read them. So feel free to do that if you're watching the VOD. If you want to keep up with what I'm doing outside of YouTube, then be sure to follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. Links to both of those are in the description down below. I hope you all have a wonderful night. Next stream is going to be Monday, 8:30 p.m. EST. Have yourselves a wonderful night.